Here's revelation. I've been doing too many other things and having too many pressures, so I maintained her, as I put it, meaning she was out walking every day. But I don't like doing a masterpiece with stresses. And stress doesn't come from horses, they come from people. And I know my cup is only so big, so my priorities are keep what needs to be done going, and take care of what doesn't need to be done, because I really have done a mentality that is different from my lifestyle, and that is I've done this filly all her life, like I was the Queen of England. And what I mean by that is she's always been fed and trimmed and put in the best facilities that I can muster, which all had board fencing, thank God. And when I was actually hands-on breaking and training, I didn't have to, how do you say, be dizzy with politics and stresses that people put on you for their own agendas. And whenever they came about, I just would back off this filly. So by doing that, hopefully I have a canvas that doesn't have any flecks or scars on it. Here I put in slow-mo, and my 11-year-old son is probably going to be a master by the time he's 16, but he's having to film me. And you can see how I jazz some of the movements of dressage. What I want to do, she's very fresh. Very fresh. I mean, if you saddled her up like the industrial-styled corporations of the racing industry, boy, let me tell you, she'd be talking to them a lot on the racetrack the first mile, probably. Anyway, what I've done was I want to bring her back into training, and I want to get to the inside muscles. Now, she's had the, so to speak, computer chips laid there over the process of the past 10, 11 months. So I'm waking them up again. What I mean by the muscles, the inside muscles and the superficial, her body gets educated, much like a young ballerina at 8 years old. It started at 6 in Russia. I don't know what they do here anymore, but and the young pianist in Yugoslavia is started at 3 and 4 years old. So their muscle memory and their athleticism with their, so to speak, rub the tummy, pat the head, their vocabulary between their brain and their hands is far more along. So is this filly's. Every time I've been dealing with her, I've given her access to her haunches, because she's short coupled, and because she's so, I want to go and blow some steam off. And mind you, she doesn't go out and run around in the field. A lot of people throw their horses out in the field, and I see this in the sport horses mostly, but in the racehorse, they throw them out in the field thinking, oh, well, isn't that good for the horsey? And they can get rid of all their, bucks and stuff before we bring them in to ride them. But one of the things in racehorses, and I'll say for the higher level dressage horse, you can't afford horses going out and hurting themselves, especially if you have a good one. And they have to master the Reuben sandwich or the club sandwich from a very young age. So they have to take, you're teaching them not just their footsteps, you're teaching them a mentality of really being happy living in their stall, and you become their herd. But you also, doing so, you're generating them to become all that wonderful stuff that you're seeing, all those Corvettes and Caprioles that we would say in Austria. So then the final analysis, they're going to put that into their race, or they're going to put that into their jump, or they're going to put that into their piaffe. This is where a lot of people don't understand. The years of subsequently making a horse is not just on, off again, on, off again. It's a constant water drop, like on a rock. The rock isn't split by a water drop. It's indented by many water drops. So as I show her gracefully, and as she has all this exuberance because she's young and full of it, full of energy and all this, it's much like a school atmosphere. Now you're going to sit down at your desk and you're going to focus on the lecture and the piece of paper in front of you. This is something that, schooled with the right attitude, will, in the near distant future, all be in a paddock, and other horses will be going cuckoo, and she'll stand there, not stoically, but she'll be putting all that energy towards the focus, the race, coming out of the gate. You'll see racehorses all washed out, going to the paddock and sweat and stuff like this, and or rearing and going completely cuckoo with all the energy, because you're getting them physically fit, but you're also putting a lot of protein and carbohydrates into them. And as I got all tangled up here because she was being outrageous, that is part of the training, because I haven't taken anything out of her. My son did capture the very beginning of this. She's not tired out by going around and around and getting rid of it, but by stopping and doing, I'm training the whole way. Now you'll see that I use the wall of this wonderful round pin. We're coming off the right hind, which is her lesser hind. It's the one that she's not as good as contributing the caprioles and stuff. But as I'm backing her, it's coming from the impulsion forward. I'm not really asking her to rein back. I'm asking her to go forward from the haunches through. And so she's tricky, she's smart and full of it. And so she thinks she's going to do something voluntary that I wasn't asking. But actual fact, that rein back was, she actually spent more energy on that than if she just went forward. But rather than fighting with a young horse and saying, I want to trot now, I use all that because the physics of it are the same. It's just like when your judge says, well, your rein back was not forward. And I remember when I was a young kid, I'm going, forward? Of course it's not forward. I'm reining back. Well, it's the energy. The energy comes from behind for a real rein back. It doesn't come from pulling on the reins and making them march backwards. It's almost like the elevator if you're in a cosmopolitan city with a huge building and you're going in those really fast elevators, and then as it lands to the floor that you're going to, if you were 34 floors up, it has a bit of a suspension. And that's what it kind of feels like when you're on a horse that's really truly reining back. It's not pushing them backwards from a reverse situation. It's almost a better metaphor or analogy would be when you throw the ball against the wall and the wall stops it and it bounces back. So when a horse, instead of looking at it as a resistance, and she's not really resisting, she's full of energy, but when I demand it to come from the haunches and not just plunge forward with all this energy by taking the outside rein, she rocks back, as they say in jumpers, and uses that energy just like a ball coming off the wall. Anyway, now because she's so full of it, I'm bringing her nose way, way up. So I'm doing sort of a jazzed two-step shouldering kind of thing, which is at her age and stuff is really tough. It'd be like, you doing a grand plie, and your back has to be straight and your hips have to be over your lower leg, and you do it very slowly going down and very slowly going up. It's exactly like that. Or in a weightlifting room. So by keeping her nose up, I'm doing a pseudo thing of dropping her haunches. What I mean by that is, a lot of people think that dropping the haunches, I guess, comes from bringing their head in and having that curly Q in the front. No, dropping the haunches is dropping the haunches. And at this age, it does not come from having them on the bed. But if you take the physics of it and look at it, as I bring her nose up, she's forced to step under with her hind leg. As a matter of fact, this is why I don't like really galloping horses that run away with other riders on the racetrack with rings on, or those bibs that they have. It's much like a German running martingale, so it gives the leverage to the rider. Well, in fact, it doesn't. They break at the pole, and they could be kissing their chest and running away from you because they're plunging. And the physics of it, when you bring a horse's head up, I mean above the vertical, they're forced to drop their haunch and step further under. By the same token, you are manipulating the physics enough so that the swing of their back is about half or more than the swing it is that when they're true and long in their balanced head carriage. So each time in long ringing, that it's almost like a math problem. If you take away from here, you're taking away from somewhere else. But the neat thing is that you keep an eye on it so that you don't overtax the horse's muscles or the muscle groupings in that area. And then you relax them. And as the lactic acid builds up and the chakra coming from their tailbone up the back and over the back and over to the pole and down to the jaw, it all starts relaxing.